What can United expect from them? What are they good at?
So basically, the interesting bit is that Lyon is always a club that you would expect to perform in Europe. As a Ligue 1 club, you don't have like many actual clubs that are doing that well in Europe. Lyon has always been in this kind of bracket where they could get a quarterfinals, either in the Champions League or the Europa League now. So it's a club that is used to this kind of European competitions and big games. In the recent years, they have been struggling both financially and sportively, with less results. They are not qualified for the Champions League. But now they are in the Europa League and they start to bounce back a little bit after a couple of difficult months. And now they are doing really after a tough start, I would say, of the season, where they changed managers with now Paulo Fonseca back in Ligue 1 after his spell at AC Milan. And in the recent weeks, they have been really performing. They have a better balance in between the midfield and the attacking side. They have a better balance between the attacking front and the defensive front. They are a team that used to play in 4-2-3-1, but now it can change a little bit because there have been a few injuries, important injuries, with Fofana and Nwama, who have both been ruled out for the season. So they don't have any more actual wingers. So you could expect them to change a little bit their tactical display. Maybe using a 4-3-2-1, something like that, with more number 10s than the sides. So yeah, they are an interesting team, both tactically and in terms of results. They will be tough to play because they are actually bouncing back at the moment. They are chasing for a potential place on the podium in Ligue 1. And yeah, I would say that it will be an interesting opposition between two different styles, but two sides that actually need a title, need potentially a Champions League spot. And for both, it could be the easiest way to achieve it.
How do you see the Europa League at the moment in general? I don't know how much attention you're paying to it. There's a lot of teams that you mentioned. Lyon are in that category. United, obviously, the only thing they have left to play for is the Europa League to get into the Champions League. Tottenham are the same. You've got some really good teams in it. Where do you rate United's chances? Because they've not been playing well at all. But you never know, do you?
No, absolutely. I think the Europa League at this stage of the competition is always a very fun watch because you have like plenty of very good sides, which actually could be competing in the Champions League. And as you mentioned, you have got some very big names in this competition. There's also Eintracht Frankfurt. You've got is it Rangers and Athletic Bilbao as well. So those are like very good teams. Maybe Rangers at a different level, but still they are a very respectful side. And yeah, I really rate the Europa League. I don't think it's a poor competition. And even though Manchester United have not been great in the recent weeks and months,
being nice there.
I watched the game on Sunday, and it was very cool. Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's a very interesting competition, and now it gets even more interesting. And yeah, I just think that all the teams left have a chance to win it, and Manchester United, with the experience they have, the manager that they have, because even though he didn't get the results instantly in the Premier League, it's still a very good manager. And I expect him then to be maybe 25% favorites to win it. So yeah, they're still able to do so.
Yeah, decent chance then. Could you tell me a little bit about the players that maybe United will need to look out for? Because Lyon have look, they're not in their best era at the moment, but we all know the players that have come through that Lyon team over the past few years. We know that the atmosphere. Well, I'm going back a long way there. I'm thinking Karim Benzema, really, but it's a long, long time ago. But they do have a few players in that team who can hurt United, who are making a lot of noise. So if you could talk through, maybe a surprise package or what the one diamond in the team that they've got to watch out for.
Yeah, I can name a few. At the moment, I would mention as well the goalkeeper, Perry. He's very, very talented. He has been very important in Lyon this season. He made some huge saves at very important times this season. So he will be one to look for, and one to beat, obviously, for Manchester United. And he's very good on his line. He's very good in the air, and he's also able to pass it very accurately. So he will be one very important player to look at. The other one is probably Thiago Almada, the Argentinian who joined from Botafogo this winter. He's already made an impact in this team. He's bringing verticality. He's bringing quality technically. Yeah, he's one of the gems of Lyon at the moment, and you need to keep an eye on him. The other one is Rayan Cherki, but I feel like most people know him now. He's talented and probably having his best season. I think like we are about to speak a little bit more about him in the later
we
stage.
definitely talked about it a little bit before we started, but like obviously, yeah, he is making a lot of noise, right? You've got the French youth teams are so stacked, and it has been that case for a long time. Hugo Ekitike as well, who we spoke about when I was working with you, like quite frequently. I think we did a lot of reports on him. He's out playing at Frankfurt at the moment. United have been linked with him and with Cherki as well over the past few weeks. But Cherki is an interesting one because I think everybody's known he's been talented for a long time. Maybe people haven't had that full exposure to him yet, and maybe United fans who watch this game tomorrow might get a bit of a shock if he plays and turns up. But why hasn't he made that big jump yet?
That's an interesting question because even for us in France, it has been a kind of mystery, because you would expect him to shine, and he was shining as soon as he became a professional with Lyon. But he's still inconsistent in his performances. When he started, he was shining, but sometimes shining on his own and not thinking about the team enough. And I think that's one of the key aspects of his game at the moment, is that the previous manager that he had, have been working with him to make him a more complete player, a more team player, I would say. Because in the past he was just thinking on his own, and sometimes way too much for this kind of players.
Do you think that the summer coming will be a summer that he moves, or is like I've seen reports maybe suggesting that even now clubs could pick him up for a relative bargain price? And I know it's, especially in the social media atmosphere, you see a clip of Cherki doing what he does, and then everyone's like, "Oh, sign him up," So yeah. I think United are obviously looking for players in those attacking positions to come in and make a difference, given how blunt they are in attack at the moment. Do you think that there is a realistic possibility of him leaving at some point in the summer?
Yeah, I could see it happening because Lyon, first of all, needs some more money, and they are in a difficult situation financially. And Cherki is probably one of their best assets, I would say. So that's a possibility. And also based on his stats and the way he evolved this season, he has become like a very complete player, able to make real impact on the game for his team rather than for himself. And yeah, I think he's top scorer, top assists in the Europa League and in Ligue 1 as well. So that shows also that he accompanied his stats to the teamwork, and yeah, I think it's one of the key aspects of his game. and maybe now he's become a more mature player, and that's the secret, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't let you go without talking about your beloved Aston Villa, because there's a lot of crossover between United and Villa at the moment. Villa were the team in January that thought, Marcus Rashford, you're the one for us, when Marcus Rashford had spent 12, 13 games expelled from the Man United first team. Yeah, it's a big night for Villa tomorrow, obviously. Wednesday night. It depends when you're listening to this, but it's a big night for Villa, and this is the opportunity that Marcus Rashford was going to get. Playing for a team in the Champions League. Usually, or in the past, it would have been United, but Villa have ascended. The ascent from Villa, where they've come from to where they are now, is absolutely incredible. Incredible credit due to Unai Emery there. This is a big night, but what have you made of Marcus Rashford so far? Do you think is him being away from the negativity of United a positive for him? Do you think he's managed to get the shackles off? Are you impressed with what you've seen?
Yeah, I am impressed by what I've seen, and his stats and his involvement, and his will to actually turn his career around. That's a big proof of character of him, and the fact that he made it back to the England squad as well has been a fantastic reward as soon as it happened. I think the most important thing is that Unai Emery has always been this kind of managers that will actually find a challenge interesting enough for this kind of players. He's one of the best at turning careers around, and what he did with Marco Asensio is another proof of it, because Asensio was not playing with PSG. He was not scoring enough, and now he's one of the most important players in terms of statistics at Villa. So yeah, it's very very interesting to see what Marcus Rashford is doing at the moment. He's impactful, but he's still a raw product, and you can expect even more from him. And it could be in Champions League nights, like on Wednesday or next week as well.
He has a good record against PSG as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure your listeners will be reminding this magical night in Parc des Princes back in 2019, I think it was 2021.
He went there. I think he went there in the COVID years and scored the winner there as well.
Yeah.
So he's had. He seems to enjoy playing against them. We'll see. It's interesting because as we speak today, we spoke about this before we started recording. There's been some interesting links today from L'Equipe, hinting that PSG could maybe go back for Marcus Rashford because Aston Villa have an option on him, obviously, and I'll get your thoughts on that in a second. But that move has been mooted for a long time, and now Marcus Rashford is available, obviously. But just a bit of fun and games, do you think, ahead of a big game?
Yeah. And I completely agree on that. I don't think it's actually the plan of PSG to sign this kind of players, especially now that Luis Enrique has found the right formula with this kind of teams, because he's less focusing on big names, but more focusing on how to build a team with the qualities of each players and to create a kind of potion where everything is working together. So I don't think it's an actual possibility that Marcus Rashford could come back at on the PSG list for the transfer market. I've also read the piece, and they were mentioning that it was one of the dreams of the former sporting director Leonardo, and I definitely think that this is true. Because at some point PSG was actually actively looking at bringing Marcus Rashford at PSG, but now I don't really see it becoming true.
So, final question from me: do you think? Maybe there's two parts to the question. Do you think Aston Villa will make this one permanent, and do you think Aston Villa can make this one permanent? Because I think there's been talks this week of like Chelsea have just sold their women's team to themselves, and Aston Villa the other day there was reports suggesting that they could do the same thing. And I think, or something similar anyway, which, my thoughts on that is just like, come on, let's have a think here. But obviously I think Villa have, in terms of maybe not the biggest wiggle room in financial terms to go and make that kind of signing. Rashford's obviously on massive wages. Villa are covering a fair chunk of them, and there's a 40 million option in there. Do you think that this was a temporary rebuilding job on Marcus Rashford? Maybe he's done well enough so far to justify that happening, but do you think that will happen in the summer?
That's a very tricky question because the books in terms of financial fair play and PSR are very tight. Today there was some reports suggesting that Villa will need to sell some more assets, even though they made big profit on key players last summer. They signed new deals. They improved a lot on the accounts part at the club. So with that in mind, I can't really see it happening because, like, if you need to have a better balance between salaries and wages, you need to cut this kind of players first. However, I could also see a scenario where Marcus Rashford accepts to have a different wages that could be like 2 times less than his current wages at Manchester United. If he finds the right environment, if Villa makes it to the Champions League, for example, or if Unai Emery convinces him to stay. But again, I don't really see it happening if he stays on the same wages, if Villa doesn't make it to the Champions League, or this kind of scenario where, every single penny will be important, and you need to cut this kind of big wages first.
Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for jumping on. Just before, I'll wrap up the podcast itself in a second, but where can people find you and follow you before I do?
It's at Quentin _GESP, both on Twitter and on X, and Instagram. So feel free to
I did the same. I did the same thing at the start of this episode. I said you can follow me on X or Twitter, and then I said actually it's the same thing, isn't it? But thanks for listening to the podcast, everyone. Thanks very much to you, mate, for joining. And good luck to Aston Villa. Thanks for listening, everyone. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify. Give a 5-star review. Give my man a follow here, Quentin, a follow. Give me a follow as well at @_Scott Saunders on X, Instagram, and TikTok. And I'll see you soon, maybe tomorrow, for another look ahead after Ruben Amorim has been speaking to the press with a big game to come on Thursday. Anyway, thanks, everyone. See you soon.